Abba Namaste, everyone. Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consulting, give you a big and beautiful shout out on this Transformation Q&A Thursday, where you bring your questions that you somehow, some way cannot get answered on Google, which that's why we're here. And we're also here to help you transform through practical knowledge, practical wisdom. But before we begin, let's invoke. Place your hands on your heart. Be aware of your heart. Smile. Oops. Be aware of your crown. Smile. Be aware of the heart and the crown together. Love of God, love of all. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, respected and beloved teacher, Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui, Lord Mahaguru Jame to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Saraswati, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, to the angels of understanding, to the angels of wisdom, to our divine selves, our higher souls, we humbly invoke for your divine light, love, and power, for your help, guidance, and protection, for greater understanding of who and what we are. Thank you for dissolving, disintegrating, and removing any and all veils, blockages, obstacles, and impediments in the way of seeing things as they are, giving us access to higher levels of truth, to alleviate our suffering, and to help us move the divine plan forward for our lives and the lives of all. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you with gratitude, respect, and love. So be it. So be it. So it is. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, the energy is getting stronger these days. Excellent. Welcome, everyone. Great to have you on again for another Transformation Q&A Thursday. We just finished this past weekend, the very first unofficial Arhatic Yoga retreat online with Master Glenn and Master Marilag Mendoza. It was amazing. It was a great opportunity to get cleansed, purified, and energized. And hopefully we can share some of those energies with everyone in the group today and clearly articulate the answers to move your life forward. So our first question, our first question for today, which I haven't had the chance to format because it just came in last minute, hot off the presses. Here is a question for you. I feel like this is confrontational. Where does the spiritual cord start in the body? Can you talk a little bit about the spiritual cord? See you later. I have a showing in 2 minutes. Okay. So, excellent question. You might be saying to yourself, if you're checking in for the first time, what is the spiritual cord? Good question. Good question. and as one of the masters would say, are there any other questions? Or if there are other masters in the room with that master, go, yeah, so-and-so, this master's going to answer it, right? Because the interesting thing about the work that we're doing, and I think this is partly why this question is being asked and why I'm doing my best to answer it, is because there are certain things that can be answered. There are certain things that can partially be answered and certain things that can't be answered only through the proper awareness, understanding of the disciple that typically the student's teacher will answer in the inner world, right? So when you talk about esoteric teachings, what does esoteric mean? That which is hidden. That which is hidden. It's also known as a veil. If you guys remember at the beginning of the invocation, what did we ask for? Some, not all, but some of the veils to be removed from our chakras so we can perceive and see things clearly, right? Which is interesting because many people have the desire to have all their veils removed. Now, why do we wear sunglasses? To block out the intensity of the rays of the sun, because it does what? It hurts the physical eyes. So if you have not gone through the proper awareness, understanding, purification, and training, if the veils protecting, keyword, your chakras were removed, what would truth look like to you? It would be blinding. I mean that literally symbolically and energetically, the three levels of truth. It would be blinding, right? So that's why there are questions in this group that I want to elaborate and go deeper into. Some of them I don't have the answers to clearly. So I stay within my lane and answer it to the best of my own wisdom and understanding. And then two, I can't because there's a little voice, if you will, that says, not yet, not yet, not yet. Go down this route, go down that route, which would be an example of what I'm doing now. Okay. So this is an excellent question about the spiritual cord. So the spiritual cord, we have two cords. We have a cord that's going up to God, or let me rephrase that. We have a cord that's going up to the higher soul, then to our spiritual teacher, then to the great teachers, and then ultimately to God, right? Just like we have an umbilical cord when we are connected to our mother, not our parents, to our mother. So that keeps us sustained physically. And then what keeps us sustained energetically is our connection to our higher self. Then we also have a cord coming down. So we have a spiritual cord going up. We have an antakarana coming down. What's fascinating is these cords get rebuilt every lifetime. These cords get rebuilt every lifetime. The more developed the soul, the faster they develop the bridge. So anyone watch Thor Ragnarok when he's traveling through the Rainbow Bridge of Light back home? That is a symbol for the Antakarana, for the Rainbow Bridge of Light. So the soul, and see, this is where I have to be very careful because I have to have the right information and I don't want it to be distorted, even though we have a recording of this. Okay, so you understand the principle of uploading and downloading, right? So if you have a big cord coming down, the Antakarana, big cord coming down, you're able to have energy flow down to you quickly from the higher soul and use for different things, right? When you have life experiences and you have a big spiritual cord going up, the upload is fast. But if you have a teeny tiny cord going up, your soul doesn't get the information fast enough, the raw data fast enough to process it and then send it back to you as intuition. So that's why certain people will continue to make the same mistake over and over and over and over and over again because their spiritual cord going up isn't big enough to send the information and message. So if you ask a question, Lord God, why am I here? Your higher soul goes, there's the answer. But why don't you know it? Because the spiritual cord and the spiritual cord and the antakarana are not big enough. The upload of that request is going through dial-up when it needs to be going through broadband or satellite. And then the download of the answer is not being received by the brain because the brain is not sensitized yet to the information. So meaning when you ask a question to your higher soul, why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? It's giving you the answer like that, but it's the inability to hear it. Why? Because we have inner noise, negative thoughts, negative emotions. We have certain veils, layers and layers and layers of veils that block us from perceiving truth. But if you notice, you ask a great spiritual teacher, if you've ever had the opportunity of being around a great spiritual teacher and you ask them a question, they will be still, they'll be aware, and the answer will come like that because both cords are very, very, very big. So the request goes up super fast, unimpeded, and then the information coming down is super fast and unimpeded of here's your answer. Here's my question. Here's the answer. There's an old saying that Meditation is listening to God. Prayer is talking to God. Too many people know how to talk. Not enough people know how to listen. So as you do purification practices, as you do character building, as you do regular meditation, as you be aware of God, you're constantly stretching that pipeline or pipelines for the energy to come down. So where's the spiritual cord connected? It goes through you, which goes to the root cord. So I'm going to leave it at this. When it's outside and above the body, spiritual cord and antakarana. When it's through the body, it's called the Sushumna Nadi. And when it's past the body, it's called the root cord, grounding you to the planet. So we get fed from Mother Earth. We are alive because of Mother Earth. Kundalini energy comes from Mother Earth. That is a very deep question that our beautiful soul Indiana asked. It's not an easy answer, so I did my best to answer it as simply and clearly as I could. So again, above us, and this is quote unquote above. There is no above and below in the inner world. Above us, spiritual cord, antakarana, within our body, it's called the Sushumna Nadi or main energy channel. And then below us is the root cord. So it goes right through us. But it depends on what you're talking about. Okay, so you have a cord going up and a cord coming down. And if you want more information about this, you can A, take our Hatha Yoga and the higher levels of our Hatha Yoga. B, you can also study the microcosmic orbit within Tai Chi and Qigong. It will give you some more understanding. Okay. Excellent question, though. Very, very good question. Not an easy question to answer. Okay, so next question. Stealing creates poverty consciousness. You use the example of a pen from work. So what about the pens and other things that companies purchase, promotional products with their logos and business info, especially now with COVID, and they ask you to take it? Is it different because that is what the company intends to happen, or is it the same? The answer is in the question. You guys get what the question is? If you take a pen from a company that has a promotional product, is that stealing from the company? The key word is promotional product, right? You're welcome, Indiana. It's a promotional product. So it's for the purpose of promoting their brand, their business, right? So it would not be stealing. But if you are working at an office building for an office job, tech job, and you are using a pen there and you take that pen home, that is stealing. Because he said, I sell promotional products, don't want to add to anyone's bad karma. Yeah, no. The purpose is to promote. The purpose is to bring awareness of the brand and the business. So not at all. Good question, right? When you steal, you generate poverty consciousness and poverty, both poverty karma and poverty consciousness, which means you are now entitling yourself to be stolen from. Now, if you take a promotional product and you use that promotional product, now what are you karmically entitling yourself? To having your business promoted because you're promoting the business of someone else. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, let's say you take a brand, you take a pen, a promotional pen, and then you throw it in the closet and no one ever sees it, then that's different karma, right? Also, karma is based on intention. One of the masters covered this a long time ago, that what is worse karma? The person who kills someone or the person who hired someone to kill someone? The mob boss. The mob boss has worse karma. They are using their ajna They're using their higher will. They're using their one of their powers, right? One of their siddhis, yogic powers, to control and manipulate another person and persons. The karma is worse than the person who actually killed someone. Interesting, right? Because you guys realize when the upper chakras are developed, you are more powerful than other people. Do you guys get that? Right? And with power comes what? Responsibility. Who knows? Spider Man was right all along, or his uncle, Uncle Ben, right? So the person who calls the hit, the karma is more severe than the person who does the hit. Not equal. Not equal. Because the person who's calling the hit is partially taking away the free will of the other person through their power. That's why the karma is so bad. Okay. So I hope that clarifies that question. Good question. Next one. Why do we meditate on the full moon? We've covered this before. I don't think we've covered it in the Q&As, but we meditate on the full moon because the solar prana is least impeded at that time of the month, meaning there is the most amount of energy available to us at that time of the month. So Holy Master DK said that the full moon is either a time of crisis or a time of opportunity. For people who do not have spiritual practices, purification practices, it's a time of crisis. Why? Because they have a lot of negative thoughts, negative feelings, and then the excess energy from the sun hitting the planet fertilizes and stirs up their negative thoughts, negative emotions, pain, suffering, stress, delusion, inaccurate viewpoints, right? So it can be very difficult for people who don't have practices. But for the yogis, for the spiritual practitioners, for the meditators, during the full moon, it's an opportunity to expand your consciousness and an opportunity to store excess energy, right? More energy is coming down. With proper training and technique, you can now harness and store that energy. Another factor is it's an opportunity to bless Mother Earth and all sentient beings, which is part of the divine plan, which generates very, very good karma for you. People have been meditating and blessing the earth during the full moon for eons and eons and eons and eons of time, past hundreds of thousands of years. We are just in this incarnation doing the work that we've been assigned to of, all right, the full moon, which our full moon's coming up this Saturday on the 28th, the full moon of Aries, which is one of the three most powerful full moons of the entire year, right? This particular full moon is cleansing and purifying the planet to prepare for the second full moon, for the downpour of energy. So this is like tilling the land. This coming full moon, the full moon of Aries, is like tilling the land. So it's an opportunity to bless and heal Mother Earth and all sentient beings and generate very, very good karma. Also, meditating on the full moon gives us extra energy to do what? Move our projects forward. Everything in life needs energy. If there's an area in your life that is not functioning well, it's because of lack of energy or too much congestion. Again, it's because of lack of energy or too much congestion. But if you bless that thing during the full moon, it has a flushing effect and pushes out all the disease congested energy and then brings about fresh vitalization within that area of your life, your health, your relationships, a project that you're working on, your spiritual growth and development, right? So that's another reason that we meditate during the peak of the full moon. What else? Generates very good karma, which we talked about. Yeah. So those are some of the major reasons. Pranic Healing has been regularly doing meditations on the full moon every month for at least 26 years. So the masters in Pranic Healing have consistently been getting groups together in person and groups together online for at least 25, 26 years every single month because it's part of our purpose. It's a part of the divine plan for humanity, whether it's pranic healing or not. So, and also meditating at the peak of the full moon is equivalent to meditating every day for typically a week, most full moons, right? So when we do a Twin Hearts meditation, or you just do any meditation, you're generating a certain amount of energy, right? But if you meditate at the peak of the full moon, you generate much, much more energy. And the most powerful full moon of the entire year is the full moon of Taurus, or the Wesak Festival, which is next month at the end of April. And meditating for that 8 minutes is equivalent to meditating every single day for a month. So you generate a tremendous amount of energy to bless your projects, your goals, your aspirations, to cleanse and purify you, to energize you, to sustain you for several months afterwards. For the earth to evolve in us. Correct. Correct. As we purify, the planet purifies to a degree. Might be a minute degree, but it's still purifying, right? So it's very important to do your spiritual practices during the full moon. Now, if you only have 1 day a month to meditate, you meditate at the peak of the full moon. Am I recommending that you meditate only once a month? No. But if you're looking to get the most bang for your spiritual buck, meditate at the peak of the full moon. Okay. Next question. Struggling to feel the rising and falling of my stomach/chest when breathing while I meditate. Makes it very hard to practice properly when I can't feel what I'm supposed to be focusing on. I place a blanket over myself, which helps a bit, but it isn't enough. Is there a solution to this? It's kind of a little convoluted, but I have an understanding of what the person's asking. So when you breathe in your chest, it's called costal breathing. It stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. This is not the way you should be breathing. Most adults, through conditioning and trauma, breathe through their chest. So when they inhale, their chest expands. That's improper technique. So most people are at a mild panic all day long because of how they breathe. You should be breathing diaphragmically. So when you inhale, your belly goes out. When you exhale, your belly goes in. And then you're stimulating the lower lobes of the lungs, or the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response. So this person who's asking the question about, I'm trying to pay attention to my chest expanding and contracting and my belly expanding and contracting. The chest should not be moving at all. Should be completely stationary. And your stomach should only be moving in slow, gradual waves. Now, we're talking about breathing for meditation. We're not talking about what? Ujjayi breathing or bellows breathing, fire's breath, which are what? Cleansing breathing. That's different. You guys seen this? Right? That's cleansing. And it also raises Kundalini. But guess what? If your channels are blocked and you start stimulating Kundalini, what are you likely causing? Kundalini syndrome. So your body starts overheating. Talk to any Kundalini yogi or Kundalini yoga practitioner who does breath of fire and get the feedback from them. What has your experience been like the first 6 months of doing that? Because most people are not cleansed and purified, and they just start doing that technique, which has a cleansing effect, but it also stimulates Kundalini to start rising. Because what is their specialization? Kundalini yoga. What is our specialization? Energy, cleansing and purifying. So they're stimulating Kundalini, but they're not cleaning the channels. Partly not cleaning the channels, because they do have physical yoga before their meditation practice that does what? Opens up the nadis. and allows energy to pour down. Make sense? Kundalini yoga is fascinating. The school itself, great school. I had a chance to train with some advanced practitioners many years ago. Excellent people, very, very powerful people, very powerful people. So don't focus on your chest, focus on the belly. Be aware of your belly, and your belly should just be gently coming out when you inhale and gently going in when you exhale. It's like a baby. If you observe a baby breathing, they breathe properly. If you observe most adults breathing, they don't breathe properly. They breathe from the chest. That's why they're in a constant state of anxiety and panic. Most. Okay. Next question. If meditating for a short period of time, like 15 minutes, feels like a lot, you might want to try meditating for 30 to 45 minutes. In working with clients who are starting a meditation practice, I have found that for many, the first 15 minutes or so are the hardest. Each time you sit, it can feel like you are climbing a hill in which you never reach the top. So it sounds like this person is saying, if it's hard for you to meditate for 15 minutes, do it for 30 to 45 minutes. Does that make sense? Yes or no? If I make something, if if you have something in your life that is hard, and then I make it harder for you, are you likely to do that? Nope. Many years ago, I had a client that came to me. She had many, many conditions. She had physical conditions, she had emotional conditions, she had conditions within her family dynamic. So there were a lot of things going on in her life. Indiana says you lose interest. Correct. And she came to me. We did healing. I gave her a homework assignment. And then I came back. We scheduled the healing the following week. She came back. This is when I was doing healings physically in person. And so I said, okay, how are you doing? She goes, I'm doing good. I said, how is your homework? And she goes, I didn't really do my homework. I said, okay. Thought nothing of it. Reassigned her the same homework, but a variation of it, right, to keep her engaged. And then the second week rolls around, she comes back in, right? This is our third healing. And so I said to her, I go, did you do this week's homework that we talked about? And she says, well, I was thinking about it, but do you have anything more advanced? I said, more advanced? What do you mean? She goes, I didn't do the homework that you gave me, but I feel like I can do more. I feel like I need like a boost to really go to the next level. And I said, if you can't do the beginning homework that I gave you, why would I give you more advanced, harder homework to do? And you know what was weird? A light bulb went off in her head. Sounds obvious, right? Because you guys were objective. But for her, didn't occur to her. And then guess what she did that week? She did her homework and she had her insights. Okay. So if something is difficult for you, it's not going to be very helpful to make it more difficult. And BJ Fogg, who is a behavioral psychologist at Stanford University, created a program called Tiny Habits. And this is after 20 years of research with other researchers. And they found out, surprise, surprise, if you lower the bar to do something, people will do it. Somebody's like, I want to get into shape, the best shape of my life. And they go, okay, great. For the next week, we want you to start with putting out your running shoes by your bed in the morning. But that's too easy. Guess what? People put out their shoes, and then that was a trigger for them to put their shoes on and run out the door and come back. But if you say, I'm only going to be successful tomorrow if I do 10 miles, what's the likelihood of you ever getting out of bed? Pretty unlikely, right? So the goal is to set the bar super low, barrier to entry, right? And then you go from there. Because at some point, after laying your shoes out, day one, day two, day three, you're going to go, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to put my shoes on and just go for a 5-minute walk. Do you see how it works? So you sit down and you do meditation for 15 minutes and you're like, God, this is horrible. I can't quiet my mind. My mind's racing, my emotions are all worked up. And then somebody says to you, hey, have you thought about doing 30 to 45 of that? Right? It's not clear thinking. It's not clear thinking. Now, the other aspect of this is very important. So, a good friend of mine, been a pranic healer and her hatha yogi for many, many years. She had fallen out of her practice, fallen out of practicing her hatha yoga. So, in her town, there's a there's a very good mentor, our hatha yogi mentor, who she called up and she said, "Hey, I need you to help me get back on track. Can you come over and monitor me doing my practices?" And he goes, "Of course." So he comes over, and every single part of her practice, because this is hierarchic, every single part, he's stopping her and correcting her, stopping her and correcting her, stopping her and correcting her. Why? Because this particular meditation deals with focus and concentration. So it's not about, the point I'm making is it's not about the length of time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. If you're doing it all wrong, it's not proper, right? So he was literally guiding her every single step of the way of the practice to keep her on point. And she says, it was exhausting, but now I realize, okay, I need to tighten up my practice and stop being so willy-nilly with it, because you're not getting the benefit of the practice. Make sense? So if somebody goes, okay, I'm meditating for 15 minutes, I'm not getting any benefit from it, let me do it improperly longer, right? Doesn't make sense. But if you can do 5 minutes perfectly, then that you build upon. Make sense? Very important. Meditation is not about length of time you're doing something. It's a misunderstanding. Because look at this. If I close my eyes and I'm moving around and my mind is wandering and I'm being agitated, and then 20 minutes is up, 40 minutes is up, 60 minutes is up, what value did I get from it? None. I'm just sitting there. Hello, you can do the same thing watching a YouTube video. I'm sitting here, instead of closed, my eyes are open and I'm having thoughts, I'm having feelings, I'm going from here to there. It's the same thing. That's not meditation. Just like closing your eyes and being distracted for 15, 20, 40, 50, 60 minutes, not meditation. Okay. So it's not about the time, it's about the technique and how well you're doing it. Next question. I started meditation because of mental health issues some months ago. I started loving kindness very recently. When I practice it, I feel some quote unquote bittersweet sadness in my chest area. Can anyone guide me about what this may be? Okay. So, what is Twin Hearts meditation and pranic healing? Meditation on loving kindness. What do they call it in Buddhism? Metta meditation, METTA, loving kindness meditation. So, loving kindness meditation develops love within you, develops compassion within you, and develops the virtue of loving kindness and non injury within you. So, when you are developing love, what's being expanded? The heart. When you're developing self love, what's being expanded? The solar plexus, right? When you're developing universal love, what's being expanded? The crown. Okay. So, this particular person is having growing pains of the chest. So when you focus on a lot of love and you're not used to being aware of your heart, one, people have a tendency to be too willful. The heart is super, super sensitive, super sensitive. So if you're like, come on, heart, open up, the heart goes, nope, it's too dangerous out there. It hurts, right? So one thing is the person could be using too much will when they're practicing loving kindness meditation. I don't know which form that they're practicing, doesn't say. Number two is as the heart chakra expands, old seeds, old traumas, old tears in the chakra webbing come to the surface. That's what the person's feeling. That's primarily actually what's happening. So when you've been in a relationship and it went sour, there's a scar, a mark on the heart and on the solar plexus. So what do we typically do when we're hurt? We close off, meaning we withdraw, and then we how do I put this? We make the energy body rigid because we don't want to get hurt again. But that rigidity reduces the flexibility of the chakra breathing. Right? So that's why Master Choa says, don't stop loving. Right? We've all been hurt. We've been let down. We've been disappointed. We've had experiences of betrayal. Don't stop loving. Don't stop giving. Keep your heart open no matter what. And that's very difficult for people. I understand. Believe me, I have many life lessons in that. But when you close off and you become rigid, you stop processing love. You stop feeling it in your beingness. So what I would recommend to this person is keep doing your practice. Yes, you're going to feel some bitterness because the heart is purging and the solar plexus is purging. That bitterness is poison coming out of your system, which is good. Better out than in. Next question. Last year, I started meditating and I started to get a pressure on my forehead. It felt compact like a ball of pressure. It sits slightly to the left of my head. I stopped meditating and the pressure stopped a little. I recently tried to start again and the pressure immediately returned. Any advice? Am I doing something wrong? Anyone? Any thoughts on this one? So when we meditate, excellent, Chrissy. Nailed it. Good job. Very good. Very good. Now, my question to you, right? Because I'm always stretching. Why not the forehead? You said ajna. Why not the forehead? Exactly right. So when we meditate, we close our eyes, we invoke to God, or we do our spiritual practice. What's happening? The crown becomes activated. When we say activated in pranic healing, we mean it expands. Where you put your attention, it expands it. So if I put my attention right here on top of my head, my crown expands. If I put my attention on my throat chakra expands. If I put my attention on my heart expands, right? So wherever you put your attention on, it expands, it activates that chakra. So when we're in a very deep meditation, the crown's super activated and the rest of our chakras might not be at that level yet, right? And so there's a huge downpour of energy. Now, we said that this person was feeling a pressure on the left side. Well, without getting into too much detail, hint, hint, this is covering in the Spiritual Essence of Man book by Grandmaster Choa Koksui, which is connecting the chakras to the tree of life. The left side deals with the Ajna chakra. The right side deals with the forehead chakra. Left side is analytical and logical, true or not true. Right side of the brain is what? Creative, imaginary. So when you're studying a subject and trying to understand it and using your rational mind, which chakra are you using? The Ajna. So this person could have already had a highly activated ajna that was becoming congested. So the extra energy is doing what? Creating pressure. Yes, creating pressure. Or the person has a activated forehead, but not a very activated ajna, but for some reason it was activating the person's ajna because it's smaller than usual and getting overly activated. So then you feel the pressure of the chakra expanding. So it depends. I'd have to know more about this person's situation and what they're practicing. And when you did you notice the person said, I stopped meditating, the pressure stopped a little. I recently tried to start again and the pressure immediately returned. What's happening? So when we invoke, the spiritual cord expands, all the chakras expand. When we give thanksgiving, the chakras normalize. So when this person stopped his practice, exactly, too much will. By the way, you can congest all of your chakras using too much will. If I willed my energy onto you, I could congest your chakras. Now the karma is not good. I wouldn't do it, right? But you can will your chakras to do things, but if you use too much will with a little bit of aggression, your chakras are not going to respond favorably. Okay. But when we invoke, spiritual cord expands, chakras expand. When we give thanksgiving, the energy normalizes. So when he was meditating, what happened? More energy is coming down. When he stopped meditating, what happened? His chakras and spiritual cord are normalizing. So he's like, I don't really know, or he, she, I don't know, doesn't really notice. Make sense? Okay. So, and then this person started meditating again and the pressure came back. Also, there could be pressure because there's a blockage, right? We talked about this before. Divine energy comes down and then it can pool in certain channels of the body and create pressure. So it'll keep pooling and pooling and pooling until it pushes its way through the blockage, which can be unpleasant sometimes. So my advice to this person would be do physical exercise before and after meditation, take salt baths regularly, get energy healing 1 or 2 times might be enough to remove any and all blockages so the energy can come down without being impeded. What else? Disconnect, right? We were taught this in pranic healing. Cut cords, disconnect in the front, the side, in the back side. That way there's not extra energy wrapping, extra cords wrapping around you, creating blockages within you. Proper technique. Yeah, you need to see the technique as well. That would be helpful. So I'm all of these questions I'm doing my best to answer with limited information. Next question. Please advise me what's the best time to meditate, morning or before bed. I struggle in the morning to wake up early, and when I wake up, when there's already lots of noisy traffic. Well, it's kind of a simple answer then, right? If you have a hard time waking up in the morning, and then in the morning there's noisy traffic, then meditating then wouldn't be a good time. Meditating at evening would be better. So a couple things about that, because I've had that question asked for years. Do you meditate in the morning or do you meditate in the evening? It depends. If you meditate in the morning, you're bringing in the divine mother. What is the divine mother? Stimulating the physical material world. So if you want to have high octane energy in the physical world, you meditate in the morning. If you want to have high octane energy going into the inner world, you want to have super vivid dreams, super lucid dreams, right? You meditate at night. I don't like to meditate at night because it is too stimulating for me. My body already has challenges sleeping, so meditating at night makes me overactivated. But let's say you have healing clients and you do healing clients in the afternoon or evening. Well, it makes sense to do your spiritual practice before you heal your clients. So you do your spiritual practice either in the afternoon or in the evening. So you have the proper energies for the healing sessions. So it makes the healings faster and it makes them more, it makes it easier for the clients to absorb the higher vibrational energies. right? But if you're in the workaday world, I would recommend doing your spiritual practice in the mornings. So it really depends on the individual. I know some people that only meditate at night. I know other people that only meditate in the morning at a certain time. I know other people that meditate based on their schedule, which changes daily, right? Because maybe they're in sales, marketing, real estate. So their schedule is all over the place. So they just fit it in when they can fit it in. Okay. But ideally, you want to meditate in the same spot at the same time. Same spot, same time. And then there's other people who will do all of their advanced practices on the weekends. So people will go, all right, I can't really meditate because of my schedule Monday through Friday. I just can't fit it in. And I don't want to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to do my practices. So they'll just do super intensive practices on Saturday and Sunday. That's also an option. I know certain people that would not combine other practices, but they would squish everything together. They would do their practices properly, but they would squish everything together in 2 days instead of 4 days. This is referring to our hatha yoga practices. But for other people, if you have advanced practices, then you can do them on the weekends as well. But do you see, if you have a hard time waking up in the morning and there's lots of traffic, the answer is kind of self-evident. Well, then meditate in the afternoon or the evening. Next question. What if you've been meditating regularly, then one day no longer feel like meditating? What does that mean and what do you do? Okay. So you've been meditating regularly for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, then all of a sudden you're like, I don't feel like meditating anymore. This comes up a lot, actually. And I've seen this happen with advanced practitioners. It means you're full. It means you're full. If you are no longer inspired to do twin hearts, to do our hatha yoga practices, meditations, or to do any kind of spiritual practices, you're full. You're full. So what do you have to do then? More physical exercise and dun, 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 service. What's one of the best forms of service for spiritual people? Healing. Because what is healing? Releasing the energy. So think about it. You sit and you meditate, your aura becomes bigger, your chakras become bigger. You sit and meditate the next day, your aura becomes even bigger, your chakras become even bigger, but you're not releasing it. There's no release valve in your life for that energy. So you're just like inhaling, 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 and then you're full. Law of cycle, law of change. What has to happen? You stop practicing to normalize the energies. But what if you're reverse? What if you keep giving and 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 healing and healing and healing and healing and serving and serving and serving and serving and teaching and teaching and teaching and teaching? Then what? Your body's going to get sick and you're going to be out of commission. Why? Because then it's your time to do what? Inhale. Law of cycle, law of change. If you break the law of cycle, there will be chaos, as Master would say. Okay. So you have to look at your life, go, am I inspired to do my practice? Kind of, sort of. You're not doing enough service. You're meditating too much. If I ask you, are you inspired to do your practice? You go, I cannot wait to meditate tomorrow. That means you're not full. It means there's some outlet in your life. Okay. So that is one major reason as to why you don't want to do your meditation practice. Another reason is you are not inspired is because you are lacking understanding, right? I've been doing Twin Hearts meditation regularly for 17, almost 18 years. It'll be 18 years tomorrow. Yay. 18 years, right? Still not bored with it. You guys hear what I said? Still not bored with it. I've practiced Twin Hearts. I had the number a while back. It's around 5,000 times that I've done Twin Hearts, roughly. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just giving you the factual data, right? Still not bored with it. Why? Because I'm constantly seeking deeper understanding and deeper experiences with my practice. That's what keeps me engaged. But if I'm like, here we go again, right? That means you're lacking understanding. So one is you're full. I can't take any more divine energy. I'm done. Right? So then you need to release. Or you lack understanding. Your understanding and experience has plateaued. How do you change that? You study more by reading books and you be in the presence of great teachers. One of the reasons Grandmaster Chogo Koksui has the retreats, he says, the disciple must be around the teacher at least once a year to deepen their understanding of their practice and to be re-inspired. I just finished this past weekend, right? I haven't had a retreat all year for about what, 7 months, 8 months. Feel really inspired, right? Even though they were distant, we're still in the space, we're still in the energy, being led by the masters and getting fed by the teachers, right? It keeps you engaged. Because when you become proficient in something, you feel good, but then you reach a plateau. So how do you break out of the plateau? Deepen your understanding, look at what you're practicing from different viewpoints, and then be around people who are more experienced than you are in that particular field, who will what? Re-inspire you and then open up doorways and portals in your consciousness and go, oh, I never thought about that. I never thought about that. There are things I'm not authorized yet, but there are things I could share with people who've been practicing Twin Hearts regularly that would completely change your practice and deeply inspire you. But you're not there yet because you're practicing. You have an outlet and you practice daily. So you're good to go. But then if you reach that point, so remember this, if you reach that point of, I'm not feeling very inspired, feeling kind of full, feeling kind of bored with my practice, then we can introduce new things. Fair? Okay, perfect. Next question. Indiana must have slid this one in last minute too. How long does it take to become enlightened? How long does it take to become enlightened? Okay, great question, by the way. How long does it take to become enlightened? It depends. A, depends on the person with a million different factors. And it also depends on the karma. And it depends on what level of enlightenment you are talking about. So to keep it simple, Grandmaster Chogo Koksui, the founder of modern pranic healing and Hatha Yoga, said, and I was in class when he said this, it's kind of funny to think that, he says, if you practice, and by the way, guys, he was talking to the people in that room. Do you get it? So it could have just related to the people in the room. So I have to kind of throw that out there as the disclaimer. He says, if you practice Hatha Yoga regularly, what's the word? Regularly, not when you feel like it, when it's convenient, when you can fit it in your schedule, but regularly, within 20 years, you will obtain enlightenment. What's enlightenment in our definition? It's a almost fully merging of the incarnated soul with the higher soul, right? It's not sainthood yet. Sainthood is this. You become a saint, a fourth level initiate, when the incarnated soul merges with the higher soul. That's when you no longer need to meditate. That's why we meditate. Why do we meditate? For oneness. Oneness with what? The incarnated soul and the higher soul. What's the next level of oneness? The higher soul with the divine spark. So, in order for you to obtain enlightenment at that level, meaning the incarnated soul has a high degree of oneness, high degree, not fully, high degree of oneness with the higher soul, 20 years of regular practice of our Hatha Yoga, meaning following the system, not making up your own system. Make sense? So enlightenment is, I'm not there yet, so I can't tell you what enlightenment is. I understand what illumination is. It's a gradual process of oneness. It's not on or off, right? We talk about it. It's not an on-off switch. It's a dimmer. So that's what you're doing. Each lifetime you're doing this. You're turning it up. Boop. Then you're awakened. Also, the enlightenment of a lama or of a disciple is much different than the enlightenment of Lord Buddha. That's why it's called the Great Enlightenment. So us becoming illuminated after 20 years of practice is much different than Lord Buddha's enlightenment. Make sense? Maybe tens of thousands of lifetimes, millions of lifetimes. Different level of awareness, different level of oneness. And as Master would say, enlightenment is observing, noticing what is obvious. That's what enlightenment is. So an enlightened human being sees the obvious. You ever had those moments in your life when you've been banging your head against the wall and then one day you just get it? You ever had that happen? You just have that aha moment? That's enlightenment, but that's all the time. About everything. That's what enlightenment is. So there are pockets within my own life that I have enlightenment around, right? I have deep realization of like, God, that's so obvious, right? But I don't have that, God, that's so obvious in every part of my life. So an enlightened being gets it. And the secret is in the virtues. By practicing the virtues, you are practicing oneness with the higher self. That's the secret. So what is our Hatha Yoga? Our Hatha Yoga is the system of becoming one with the higher self. What does Arhat mean? Saint, right? Saint. So our Hatha Yoga is the process of becoming a saint. Not too many people do I know have reverse engineered sainthood. So how long does it take to become enlightened? In our definition of high degree of oneness of the incarnated soul with the higher soul, 20 years of regular practice of our Hatha Yoga, where you begin to notice what is obvious. And then lastly, is there anything pranic healing can't heal? Yes. The two things that I've experienced in pranic healing that cannot be healed, that is talked about, are viruses. We can reduce or eliminate the symptoms of viruses, but we have not been able to prove the removal of viruses. So if somebody has AIDS, we can minimize the symptoms of HIV, right? But we cannot remove the virus from the person's blood system, bloodstream. Herpes, same. Any kind of virus. We can't remove it from the person, as I understand it. Number two, deficiencies in nutrition. If somebody lacks magnesium, we can't give it to them energetically. If they lack zinc, iron, potassium, we cannot give it to them energetically, as I understand it. But to be honest, outside of that, pranic healing is effective with everything. It can heal your physical body 50% faster or more. It could heal your emotional body 50% faster or more. It can heal your psychology 50% faster or more. And obviously, it ultimately healing the soul. Pranic healing ultimately is healing the soul. Never forget that. When you do pranic healing on someone, yes, you are alleviating the pain and the suffering of different bodies, but at the end of the day, you are healing the person's soul, which is priceless. Okay. Whew. I think this was the most heady of all the questions we've had. List of questions. Thanks for setting the stage, by the way, for setting the tone, if you will. But all very, very good questions. Not easy to answer. Some of them not easy to understand, right? If you don't understand a question, it's kind of hard to answer it, right? So that's part of it too. But we do our best here. And to be honest with you, this is one of my, don't tell anyone else, don't tell my clients. This is one of my favorite hours of the week because it deals with the mental body and it deals with communication, which is something I thrive on, right? So I appreciate each and every one of you asking questions, making notations, and then asking yourself the question, how can I take this nugget, this information, this principle, and apply it into my life today or this week to improve the quality of my life, to alleviate my suffering, or to improve the quality of someone else's life and alleviate their suffering, right? Another form of service and using the energies. So I hope this helps. Ah, very perceptive. Anyone want to take a guess what this is? Anyone? Come on, someone's got to know. This is a room of intelligent people. Hello? Egyptian mummy. Nope. Sorry. I'll tell you what it says. You ready? The people at home aren't going to see this. Anyone know a guy named Socrates? Exactly. For the people at home not watching the chat, because you can't see the chat, know thyself. One of the most important tenets of all tenets, know thyself. So that's what we do each and every single Thursday. We log on. Every Sunday we log on. Every day we do our practices. We are knowing thyself. Who am I? The soul. If you think you're your sexy body, you're partially correct. If you think you're your bank account, your house, you're this, you're that, you're not any of those things. You're the soul. You just have to know it. You guys realize when we say know it, as I meditate on this expression, know is the crown chakra. Do you guys get that? Knowing is the crown chakra. Think about that. How brilliant was Socrates? Know thyself. That's why, oh, I don't know, 2,000 plus years later, we're still talking about this teacher. How great was he? Right? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Great, great teacher. I remember asking Master Choa about the founding fathers of the United States. I said, Master Choa, were the founding fathers adepts? And an adept means in a very advanced soul. He goes, yes, of course. I was like, sweet. Okay. So I hope you guys got value out of this. I'll post this later on in the group tonight. The Freemasons. Master Choa was a Freemason. So Rosicrucian. He was a Rosicrucian. Not sure if it was a Freemason. Negate that first one. Rosicrucian, yes. He says they have actually great teachings. Okay, so let us close. Hands on the heart. Be aware of the heart. Be aware of the crown. Be aware of the heart and the crown together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, respected and beloved teacher, Grandmaster Choa Kuk Sui, to his teacher, Lord Bodhisattva Mei Ling, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Saraswati, to the great teacher of Socrates, the soul of Socrates, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, healing ministers, to our divine selves or higher souls. We thank you all for your great, great blessings, for your divine light, love, and power, for your divine help, guidance, and protection, for honesty and non lying to oneself and to others, for humility, for the beginner's mind, for always being ready, willing, and able to absorb higher truths, to work with higher truths. We thank you, Lord God. We thank you all. With gratitude, respect, and love. So be it, so be it, so it is. Thank you. So if you're aware, the energy starts going. Okay. So lots of love to each and every one of you. Enjoy your Thursday. I have to reach out to my son again. We've been playing phone tag literally all day, so I can wish him a happy birthday. He's getting a new phone, I guess, is one of the things, one of the factors. And I will talk to you guys on the Flippity McFlipperson and see you on Sunday for our lecture, our meditation, and our healing. Bye.